Hello everyone, we're fulfilling the future of beer and targeting converting spent hops into soil organic matter. We'll go through the present trend, solution, targeted markets and competitors, reasons of investing and funding eventually. Firstly, we'll look up the tangent trends. According to McKinsey, if a company follows the right regulatory ESG strategies and has a good relationship with the regulators, more than 30% of a corporate profit could be avoided at risks. From the customer perspective, 88% of customers will be more loyal to a company that contributes more on the environment and local communities, and the sustainable markets grows 5 times more than the conventional one. In terms of agriculture, FAO of UN's claimed 33% of world soil has been moderately degraded. Also, the director of corporate affairs in Europe of AB InBev said, they already integrated those trends into its operation and is willing to chase a sustainable purpose that goes beyond the present one, which shows AB InBev has a huge ambition from this aspect as well.
Onto our solution, or what soil has to do with saving the planet and cutting carbon emissions. We looked at the trends Bo identified earlier and thought, okay, which of those can we actually affect? Obviously, we would not be able to turn consumer behavior towards sustainability around through a well-positioned advertising campaign. New regulations from our side are most likely also not going to happen, and I think we can all agree that, unfortunately for the planet, we can all not change the weather. So we came up with soil as a common solution. Healthy soils are crucial for high yields, water preservation, and nutrient content. However, we are most interested in the top organic layer of the soil you can see in the diagram on the left-hand side. It has the amazing ability to store carbon from the atmosphere. It is actually estimated that the Earth's soils contain more than 2,500 gigatons of carbon. That is more than 4 times the amount stored in all living plants and animals. The key component we are looking at here is soil organic matter. It can remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through vegetation and stores it in the soil's pool of organic carbon. Sounds pretty amazing, no? This is how you could get some. You need straw, dung, and most importantly for its minerals, the beer waste that is left over in AB InBev's brewing process. You put it all in a vacuum oven, heated to 58 degrees and let it rest for 8 weeks. The process that's happening is called microbial carbonization, and with a bit of luck, you end up with a SOM equivalent you can spread to your fields and store carbon.
Next, we'd like to move on to target markets and competition. And this is a very short slide, because since it's such a new field of research, there is no competition from major rivals. But at the same time, because it is such a new field of research, it's quite hard to ascertain what the actual risk of undertaking such a project would be. The benefits, however, are obvious. This would help AB InBev diversify their revenue streams in an era where beer sales are waning. Firstly, it would allow them to sell CO2 certificates to other companies looking to mitigate the effects of their own CO2 emissions. It would then allow them to sell SOM down the production line to other estates and farmers that are not in AB InBev's production chain. And lastly, it would allow them to sell sustainable beer, which would open a whole new market of engaged, sustainably minded customers that are willing to pay a premium for sustainable beer. Equally as important is the upstream integration that this would allow AB InBev to have. Usually farmers send hops and send them to a factory, but in our case they would also send dung and straw to produce the SOM to the same factory, which once produced would then be sent back to the farmers to use. It would then be sold further down the line as well to other estates, as previously mentioned. This of course would have to be done with a serious PR campaign to mitigate the bad press that it may receive that dungs and hops are being sent to the same factory. Overall, this would help AB InBev achieve their sustainability goals by participating in circular and smart farming.
Thank you, Gemma. So why invest? AB InBev aims to create a measurable positive impact to drive growth and improve lives across the entire value chain, which leads me on to my first point, climate action. Using soil organic matter, otherwise known as SOM, on their farmlands, AB InBev will be able to store at least 66,500 tons of carbon dioxide, and each time SOM is applied to the soil, it moves them closer to their goal to reduce a significant amount in 25% of carbon emissions. Secondly, under water stewardship, soil organic matter will improve the water preservation properties of soil, leading for farmers to reduce the water usage and increase water availability. And finally, onto my third point, my favorite part. Smart agriculture, which allows farmers to stay connected over 13 countries with over 20,000 farmers, supporting growth of crops such as barley, maize, and rice. Connected farmers will benefit from SOM production, which leads to improving upstream integration, and this will give them the ability to invest in and grow the business for the long term.
Turning out now to assess AB InBev innovative strategy. Firstly, the timing of our project fits perfectly with the AB InBev Better World strategy in order to improve its CSR. Also, with our project, AB InBev could sell CO2 certificates to rivals, which add a source of revenue streams to the company and can thus outperform competitors. Lastly, our project is in line with sustainable development. And nowadays, customers do not just purchase only the product, but they purchase the whole brand. And our project can improve the CSR of a company by implementing the cleaner world aspect in its product portfolio.
Thank you very much, Hector. And now, moving on to funding. As Gemma mentioned earlier, this is a novel process, and as such, there's not a lot of data around what costs to expect. What we've tried to do is provide estimates of costs that we assume will be necessary. Now, for initial funding, we're asking for funding to first of all create a minimum viable product, soil organic matter, as well as costs of student research interns and 2 research scientists. Now, for the minimum viable product, we're asking for vacuum ovens because this will allow us to create small amounts of SOM that can be utilized for us to test how much CO2 is actually being stored. For the student researchers, we suggest partnering with universities who are leading in soil science research, for example, the University of Reading. We also believe that there will be added costs of analysis of the soil as well as data collection so that we can collect more information about what the CO2 emission reduction is that can be reported to the EU. Now, when the process has been standardized, we will also require patents, so there would be the cost of that as well. Thank you very much, and we hope that we've been able to show you the benefits of using soil organic matter to produce more sustainable beer.